What if I told you that the only thing stopping you from living the miracle you've been waiting for is the fact that you keep trying to force life to happen? Thoth gave a warning thousands of years ago that no one has understood to this day. He said, "There is a moment when any action you take will jam everything." And the worst part? Most people are exactly in that moment, right now, and they don't even realize it. Have you noticed that the more you chase something, the farther away it seems to get? That's not bad luck. It's an invisible block that Thoth called the critical point of manifestation, the point where, if you keep acting, everything falls apart. And here's the first secret no one ever told you. Your life doesn't respond to what you do. It responds to how you feel while doing it. And right now, your vibration is already creating everything around you, even in silence. But here's the detail almost nobody notices. There's an invisible moment where, if you keep trying to fix things with your own hands, you mess everything up. It's like fiddling with a machine that's already working perfectly and ending up breaking it out of insecurity. And the question that will change everything from now on is, how do you know when that moment has arrived? How do you notice that from that point on, the only move left is to do nothing at all? If you ignore this, you'll stay stuck in the same cycle that's blocked your life for as long as you can remember. But if you understand what I'm about to show you in the next few minutes, the miracle will start happening without you lifting a finger. So stay with me until the end, because I'm going to reveal exactly how Thoth explained this hidden secret, and you'll never act the same way again. So tell me, how many times have you tried to solve a problem in a hurry and everything got worse? How many times have you chased after someone and that person just pulled away even more? How many times have you tried to control every detail of a situation and, in the end, everything spun out of your control? If you're being honest, you'll realize this has happened more than once, because there's an invisible moment when any action you take won't help at all. In fact, it'll only mess up what was starting to align on its own. Thoth, who didn't speak only to initiates but to everyone seeking to understand the hidden mechanisms of life, warned about this point. He said there's a silent instant when reality has already begun to reorganize, but you don't see it because you're so caught up in the anxiety of the outcome that you want to act right away. But here's the most important detail. In that moment, life doesn't need your interference. It's already acting on your behalf. But the mind doesn't accept that. It starts screaming in your head, "Do something. You're going to miss your chance. Everything will go wrong if you don't hurry." And that's the mistake. Because every time you act out of desperation, your action comes from fear, not trust. And when the foundation is fear, the result can only be more confusion. Let's bring this into real life. You like someone, but you're afraid of losing them. So you start texting them all the time, demanding attention, creating situations that didn't even need to happen. What happens? The person feels smothered and pulls away, not because they don't like you, but because your anxious energy creates resistance in their field. Or you have a project. Everything's going well, but suddenly doubt kicks in. What if it doesn't work out? What if someone does it better than me? What if time's passing and I'm not moving fast enough? Then you start forcing meetings, rushing steps, making hasty decisions. And the project, which was flowing, stalls. Everything jams. It feels like the universe shuts down. But it's not the universe. It's your misaligned energy that started to block the natural flow. Thoth called this vibrational interference. Reality, like nature, has its own rhythm. If you plant a seed today and start digging up the soil tomorrow to check if it's growing, what's going to happen? You kill the seed. Not because it wasn't going to grow, but because you didn't respect the invisible time of maturation. Anxiety, no matter how much it's disguised as responsibility, is a form of mistrust. And Thoth taught that the universe responds to your state, not your excuses. So it doesn't matter if you say you're running after something because you need to be responsible when inside you're afraid. The vibration that counts is the one inside, not the pretty story you tell yourself. And the funny thing is, the more you try to force things, the less they happen. Because the universe works through ease, not pressure. And if you stop to observe your own life, you'll notice that the best things happen when you were relaxed, when you had already let go of the anxiety, when you just let things flow. Now here's the practical application for you to use immediately. Every time you feel that rush, that urgent need to act without clarity, stop, breathe, and ask yourself, is this urge to act coming from trust or from fear? Because if it's coming from fear, any step you take will be a wrong one. And now that you get this, the doubt that's probably still in your mind is, so what do I do while life is reorganizing itself? If I shouldn't act on impulse, do I just sit still? Do I wait for time to pass? Do I disconnect from what I want? And the answer is that Thoth left an even deeper secret for that moment, something most people never understood, and that's why they stay trapped in this cycle of trial and error. So what should you do after all? If acting on impulse just makes things worse, standing still and waiting seems like running away. But Thoth made it clear that stopping is not the same as giving up. There's a huge difference between giving up and creating space. While giving up comes from weakness, conscious stopping comes from intelligence. That's when you learn the difference between acting from anxiety and acting from clarity. Think with me. If you're on a boat in the middle of the sea and you lose your sense of direction, what good is rowing without knowing where you're going? You'll just get tired faster and drift even farther from your destination. Thoth called this moment conscious cessation. It's when you choose to stop, not because you're lost, but because you know that at that moment, rowing will only take you farther from what you're looking for. What almost nobody understands is that reality doesn't respond to your hurry, but to your vibrational state. If you keep acting with a restless mind, your vibrational field only transmits confusion. And life, which responds to your vibration, gives you exactly that. Confusing situations, indecisive people, unstable results. Because the universe doesn't interpret your intentions. It mirrors what you're feeling right now. So when you stop acting from the wrong state, something powerful happens. Your vibration reorganizes. It's like a turbulent lake. While the waters are agitated, you can't see anything beyond the distorted surface. But when the lake calms, the reflection of the sky appears clearly. It's the same with your life. As long as you keep trying to force results from fear or haste, everything stays murky. But when you stop consciously, clarity begins to emerge. But here's a detail few notice. Stopping externally doesn't mean inner inertia. It's not about sitting and waiting for a miracle to fall from the sky. It's an active pause. It's creating space so your energy can clear, so the vibrational field you're emitting can return to its natural state. And what is the natural state? A state of trust, presence, and alignment with the flow of life. This space you create by stopping is where the invisible can start to act. Because while you fill all the space with thoughts, worries, and hasty actions, there's no room left for the intelligence of the universe to work in your favor. Thoth said the all can't operate where man is occupying everything with his ego. You have to make room, create silence, and let the invisible order realign what's out of sync. The practice here is simple but powerful. Every time you feel like you're acting just to relieve anxiety, stop, breathe. Mentally step back from the situation for a few moments and watch what happens when you don't interfere. Often the solution appears on its own. Someone solves it for you. The situation adjusts naturally. Or The clarity you were missing just shows up out of nowhere. But that only happens because you made space, because you stopped filling everything with your agitation. Now, maybe you're starting to realize that the right kind of silence at the right moment isn't passivity, it's wisdom. But there's still one essential detail that most people miss. Stopping external action is only half of the process. There's something invisible that needs to be activated within while you're in that state of cessation. Because if you just stop on the outside, but inside you're still stuck in doubt, fear, and lack, nothing changes. It's this internal activation that changes everything. And that's exactly what we're about to start uncovering now. It's in this space of silence that the real challenge appears. What do you feel while you're not taking action? Because stopping on the outside is one thing, but if inside you're still trapped in fear, neediness, and doubt, your vibration is still blocking the flow. Thoth used to say that the universe doesn't respond to your declared desire, but to what you silently vibrate while you wait. And that's why so many people, even knowing how to stop outwardly, still fail inwardly. Now imagine this with me. What would your vibration be like if, at that exact moment, you already had what you deeply want? Think of something you truly desire. Now forget the desire and imagine it's already yours. How would you be breathing? How would you be walking? What would your mood be like? Calm, light, content? That exact state is what the universe responds to. Here's the secret that almost nobody notices. The universe doesn't distinguish between reality and imagination. It responds to vibration, not the situation. So if you vibrate as someone who already has it, reality starts to shift to reflect that. But if you vibrate as someone who's still waiting for it to happen, it keeps showing you the wait. It's not magic. It's vibrational correspondence. Someone who has peace doesn't desperately seek peace. Someone who has love doesn't beg for attention. Someone who has abundance doesn't worry about running out tomorrow. That state of someone who already possesses is silent but powerful. And most people never reach this place because they're addicted to waiting for signs from the outside before allowing themselves to feel something on the inside. But Thoth taught the opposite. Feel first, and reality will reflect later. Now here comes the detail that changes everything. That state of someone who already has can't be faked. You can't pretend inner peace while inside you're vibrating fear. It doesn't help to repeat pretty phrases while your heart is tight with anxiety. The universe doesn't listen to your words. It listens to what you feel. That's why the first step is to be honest with yourself. Recognize where you're vibrating right now, and from that place begin building the desired state. And how do you build that? With small shifts in perception. You don't need to convince your mind that everything is perfect. You just need to choose, moment by moment, to get closer to the feeling of already being whole. That starts with breathing, relaxing the body, choosing thoughts that bring lightness instead of tension. Because vibrational state isn't an external performance, it's an internal silence where you stop searching and start feeling like you've already arrived. But this is where the biggest challenge shows up. Because the outer reality will often seem like the opposite of what you're vibrating. You'll look around and won't see any proof that it's already yours. And that's the point where most people break the process. They look outside, find no confirmation, and fall back into anxiety, fear, and doubt. So how do you keep the state of someone who already has when everything outside seems to prove the opposite? How do you hold that vibration even when reality challenges you? That's the question that will take us even deeper into the next step. The world outside goes silent. No sign appears, no answer comes, no visible change happens. And it's in this emptiness that most people give up, because they were taught to measure progress by visible results, not by internal shifts. They look around and don't see anything different, and they conclude nothing's happening. But Thoth warned about this thousands of years ago. The silence of reality doesn't mean absence. It means recalibration. Think of a seed planted in the ground. For days, maybe weeks, you look at the soil and see nothing. No sprout, no sign. But under the surface, roots are forming, invisible structures are connecting. If you judge by what you see on the surface, you'll think nothing is happening. But the truth is, the most important moment of growth is happening exactly where you can't see. It's the same with your reality. When you shift your vibration and stay in that new state, the universe begins to rearrange invisible variables. People, situations, places, and opportunities are being adjusted. It's like pieces of a puzzle slowly moving into place to form the full picture. But this doesn't happen in a snap, nor on your schedule. Reality has its own timing for alignment, and it almost never matches your urgency. But then the problem happens. People, used to instant results, can't stand waiting in silence. When they don't see anything changing, they panic. They start doubting, questioning if they're doing it right, thinking maybe they need to act again, force a solution, look for a desperate way out. And that's exactly the moment they break the process. Because by acting from fear, they send a new, misaligned vibration to the universe. And the whole adjustment that was underway has to start all over again. It's like a musician tuning an instrument. If you interrupt them halfway and tell them to start playing, the music comes out all wrong. The universe is tuning the frequencies of your life. And if you act before it's time, you force it to play the melody with everything out of tune. That's why Thoth taught, in the silence, trust. Not because you see results, but because you know the invisible is working. True trust is born exactly where there's no proof. It's easy to trust when everything is going right. The real challenge is to trust when everything seems still. It's in that space that your vibration is tested, because that's where fear shows up the strongest. And fear has a specific way of acting in that silence. It doesn't come screaming, it whispers in your mind. It says things like, what if it doesn't happen? What if you're wasting time? What if nothing changes? These quiet thoughts are what sabotage your vibration, because even if on the outside you're staying still, on the inside you're sending out doubt. And doubt creates resistance. Resistance blocks the flow, and it's in that silence that fear starts speaking louder, disguised as responsibility. It doesn't show up saying it's going to sabotage you. On the contrary, it shows up as that rational voice that seems like it's just trying to protect you. It says things like, you need to get ahead. Better act now so you don't regret it later. You can't just sit around and expect the universe to do everything. And with these subtle phrases, you believe you're making a smart decision, when in reality you're breaking the flow that was already aligning in your favor. Fear doesn't want you to notice that, because as long as you think you're being prudent, you're actually drifting away from true trust. The difference between responsibility and anxiety is very subtle. Responsibility comes from clarity and inner peace. Anxiety comes from insecurity that can't handle waiting. Thoth warned about this with a phrase that few people really understood. Trust the invisible and don't question its timing, because the invisible works on a timeline your mind will never understand. And if you try to force the universe's clock to move at your pace, you'll end up frustrated. Now think with me. How many times have you acted thinking you were preventing a problem, and in the end, you created even more problems? How many times did you rush to solve a situation that, if you had waited just a little longer, would have resolved itself? Fear will always try to convince you that waiting is dangerous. It'll show you worst-case scenarios, bring up past situations where things didn't work out, and use all of that as arguments to pull you out of your state of trust. But here's the practical key, so you don't fall into that cycle anymore. When fear comes, when that sudden urge to act takes over, before doing anything, stop and breathe. It may seem too simple to be true, but that pause creates a space where you can observe your impulse instead of being controlled by it. It's in that space that you take back control of your vibration. Because while you're reacting automatically to fear, you're not in control. Fear is. Thoth used to say that the true wise person doesn't act on impulse. He observes. He feels. And only after, when clarity shows up, he takes the next step. Because he knows that acting without clarity is like shooting an arrow in the dark. You might hit something, but the chances of creating confusion are huge. So every time you feel like you need to act immediately to relieve tension, to escape discomfort, to control what's out of your hands, breathe and ask yourself, am I doing this out of clarity or out of fear? If the answer is fear, don't do anything. Because what's born from fear only creates more fear in the future. Now maybe you're thinking, okay, I get that I need to stop, breathe, and observe, but how do I keep fear from coming back tomorrow and the day after? How do I stay calm when it insists on returning? That's exactly where a simple but extremely powerful practice comes in, a technique you can use anywhere, anytime, and it'll help you neutralize fear the moment it shows up. It may sound contradictory, but it's not. Because being still doesn't mean being stagnant. It means living without carrying the anxiety of the future. Thoth taught that the wise man keeps walking, keeps living, keeps doing his daily tasks, but without that inner urgency that something has to happen now for him to feel complete. It's a light, present, and silent kind of walk. While most people live as if they're running from something or chasing something they don't yet have, the one who practices active stillness lives in the now. They do what needs to be done today, but without carrying the weight of what may or may not happen tomorrow. They don't stop working, dreaming, or building their life. But they don't do it with the rush of someone who believes they'll only be happy once everything is just the way they want. And here's the most important detail. This stillness is not passive waiting. It's not sitting around waiting for everything to fall from the sky. It's a silent trust that fills each action in the present. When you take care of what's within your reach now, without anxiety over what hasn't come yet, your vibration stays clean. And it's that vibration that keeps moving the invisible pieces of the universe in your favor. But that's hard in a world that constantly teaches you that you have to hurry, that you need to achieve something outside of yourself to feel fulfilled. Marketing tells you that you'll only be happy when you buy that product. Society says you'll only be someone once you hit a certain goal. But Thoth taught the exact opposite. The wise man walks but doesn't seek. Because what needs to come to him will come naturally, at the right time, without forcing anything. Active stillness, then, is a state of balance, where you act in the present with responsibility but not with desperation, where you take care of your tasks, your relationships, your body and mind, but without placing on those actions the expectation that they must bring an immediate reward. You live because living is already enough. You do because doing already fulfills you. And the most incredible thing happens right here. Because when you stop chasing, it's as if reality finally breathes and says, now I can give you what you've been looking for. And situations start organizing themselves in ways you never could have planned. People show up, opportunities appear, unexpected solutions cross your path, not because you forced them, but because you made space. It's like when you stop trying to control everything, you open the door for the universe to act. And it does, but not in the way your mind planned. It acts in the way your vibrational state allowed. And that's when the silent magic happens. The reality you used to chase now starts chasing you. And everything that once felt far away starts moving towards you without you having to make any effort. But now comes the question few people dare to ask. How do you maintain that state when life suddenly starts testing you? How do you not fall back into the old habit of chasing again when reality hasn't brought everything you wanted yet? Because that's where the real test lives. You don't even realize when it happens the first time, but then you see situations that once required effort just show up. That person you tried so hard to connect with starts reaching out. The opportunity you were waiting for appears from the most unexpected place. The answers that seem so distant arrive without you doing anything different, and the only thing that changed was your internal state. That's where the magic stops being theory and becomes experience. The universe is no longer waiting for you to chase everything. It's responding to your vibrational state, which finally became clean enough to allow the natural flow of life to happen without the interference of anxiety. It sounds easy when I put it like that, but very few people can maintain that state long enough to see this happen. Because it's very tempting to go back to the old pattern. When something starts to flow, the mind immediately thinks, now I need to hold on to this, control this, make sure it stays this way. And in that moment, without realizing it, the person starts chasing again. They leave the state of stillness and fall right back into the trap of effort. And the flow that was coming to them starts moving away. Not because the universe punishes, but because their vibration changed. The secret lies in understanding that the flow doesn't depend on your force, it depends on your permission. When you stop desperately seeking, you create space for life to bring what you were already vibrating. It's like a magnetic field. When it's aligned, it attracts naturally. You don't see the magnet struggling to pull the metal. The attraction happens by correspondence. Life works the same way. Let me give you some simple examples. You know those days when you just relaxed and, without planning it, met someone important in your life? Or that moment when you'd already given up looking and out of nowhere, the solution you wanted so badly just appeared? Those moments aren't coincidences. They're vibrational responses. Your energy stopped blocking, so reality could act. But here's a challenge most people ignore. Because when reality starts chasing you, the mind, so used to effort, starts thinking it needs to do something to hold on to it. It wants to control the flow, measure it, plan it, secure it. And in that control, it loses the alignment that brought everything to begin with. That's why the most important question now isn't how to attract reality. You already know that happens when your vibration is clean. The real question is, how do you keep this happening without falling back into the old habit of chasing? How do you keep the sabotaging mind from taking control again and dragging you back to effort, anxiety, and endless seeking? There's one final internal adjustment, one small invisible detail that separates those who live in this flow constantly from those who only experience it once in a while. And that adjustment is what's about to be revealed now. Because the hardest part isn't getting to that vibrational state where you feel like you already have what you desire. The hardest part is staying there when the outer world starts screaming the opposite. Your reality will test you. People will question you. Circumstances will seem to get worse. Everything will try to pull you back to fear, doubt, and anxiety. And it's in that exact moment that you need to remember what Thoth taught about the space between desire and manifestation. Thoth called this place the middle of the path. It's an invisible, silent, and absolutely challenging space. There's no glamour there. No lights, no signs, no external confirmations. It's a space where everything is being adjusted in the unseen, but you still can't see it. And it's exactly in that silence that your mind will want to give up, because it will say, if I don't see anything changing, then it's not working. And if you believe that voice, you break the vibrational process that was coming together. Imagine a plane flying through thick clouds. Up above, the sun is shining. But from your seat, all you see is gray all around. If you forget that the sun is still up there, you might panic and think you'll be lost forever in that gray sky. But if you trust that once you get through the clouds, the sun will appear, you stay calm, Life is like that. What you're vibrating is the sun. What you're seeing is the cloud. The question is, where are you going to focus? In practice, that means that even when nothing seems to be changing, you keep vibrating as someone who already has it. You keep feeling peace, even with no apparent reason. You keep acting with trust, even without external proof. You keep living as if reality is already in your favor, even if it hasn't shown that yet. Because it's exactly that vibrational consistency that solidifies alignment. Thoth taught that manifestation is an echo. What you feel now sends out a wave to the universe. That wave takes time to return as visible reality. But if you change your vibration before the wave comes back, the echo changes too. That's why so many people live endless cycles of almost achievements that never materialize. They start strong, vibrate what they want, but when reality doesn't respond immediately, they give up. They change their state. And the echo returns different from what was sent. The biggest challenge is holding the state with no visible guarantees, because the mind wants proof, it wants control, it wants certainty. But true vibration doesn't need any of that. It stands on trust. And it's that silent trust that Thoth taught people to cultivate. He said, "In the space between what is desired and what is manifested lives true faith." Here's a powerful practice. Every time you feel anxiety trying to pull you out of that state, pause for a moment and ask yourself, how would I be acting right now if I already had what I want? And choose to act from that answer. Even if it's something simple, like getting out of bed with lightness, smiling for no reason, or just breathing calmly. Small gestures vibrate big energy. But it's in that moment, when everything seems to have stopped, that the most silent and most dangerous test of all happens. Because no one will be there to tell you this is the turning point. The world will look the same, the people around you won't notice anything, and inside you, a part will start to question everything. Did I do something wrong? Maybe it's not working. Should I try something else? And that's exactly when most people go back to the cycle of effort, as if nothing they did up to this point had been worth it, because they confuse silence with failure. But silence, Thoth taught, is the final stage before manifestation. Think of water right before it boils. You look at it and it's still. No bubbles, no steam, but if you had a microscope, you'd see the molecules vibrating like never before. They're so agitated that it's just about to change state. And you know what happens if you turn off the heat right then? All the accumulated energy dissipates. All the effort up to that point is lost. Reality works the same way. In the moment when everything seems stagnant, it's because the unseen is working at its most intense level. The problem is that the human mind can't stand not seeing results. It wants proof. It wants answers. It wants everything to happen in its time and its way. It doesn't understand the timing of the universe, and because of that, it starts trying to control what doesn't belong to it. It starts seeking answers where there's only silence. And in that urge to act at the wrong moment, it breaks everything that was almost ready. Thoth said that reality has a gestation period. Just like a seed has to stay hidden in the soil before it blooms, your manifestation has to go through the invisible stage. You can't plant and harvest on the same day. And if you dig up the soil to see if the seed is sprouting, you'll kill the process. It's in the silence that the seed grows. It's in the unseen that reality is organized. Now think about your life. How many times have you given up at the last minute? How many times did you abandon a project, a dream, a relationship, right when things were aligning behind the scenes? Just because on the outside it seemed like nothing was changing, but what you didn't see was the invisible movement preparing the way. It was the silent alignment that needed just a little more of your stillness to complete. That's why the true test isn't when everything goes wrong. The true test is when nothing happens, when silence is total, when life doesn't give you a yes or a no, and all you have is the vibration you're holding inside. Those who can go through this stage without giving up, without interfering, without trying to force the flow, they cross the final threshold of manifestation. Because right after that silence, reality changes. But that silence can last days, weeks, sometimes even months. And that's why almost no one makes it through. Because the impatient mind convinces the person that they're being irresponsible for waiting, that they should be doing something, and when they act from the wrong state, they go back to the start of the cycle. Everything that was about to manifest dissolves, and they don't even realize how close they were. And here we reach the heart of what Thoth warned about thousands of years ago, and what most people still can't grasp today. Because after you've done the entire vibrational process, after you've cultivated the right state, overcome fear, made it through the silence, and resisted the urge to act on impulse, comes the most critical moment. And paradoxically, it's the moment that feels the least critical, because everything feels too calm, no catastrophe, no crisis, no news. And it's exactly there that the mind falls into the trap of trying to finish what was already almost finished. Thoth spoke clearly. When the invisible is finishing the alignment, it doesn't need your help. In fact, any attempt at human help only creates noise in the vibrational field. It's like interrupting a conductor while he's leading the orchestra. Imagine stepping onto the stage and trying to adjust the musicians in the middle of the performance. The result? Confusion, misalignment, noise. And what's most surprising is that this final stage is almost imperceptible. It doesn't come with a sign that says, "Do not touch." It comes with a silence so deep that your mind can't handle it. It will say, "Do something, anything, it's too still." But it's exactly because it's quiet that everything is falling into place. And here's the most important detail. This is the stage of maximum trust and minimum movement. It's when the wise person knows their inner work is done, and now the universe is finishing the job. There's nothing else to do. And anyone who tries to act at this point, out of fear or anxiety, destroys the harmony that was ready to manifest. Let's bring this into your daily life. How many times were you about to close a deal, win someone over, or receive an important answer, and at the last moment, because you couldn't wait, you sent that unnecessary message, made that rushed call, took that action out of fear? And what happened? The other person pulled away, the deal went cold, the opportunity disappeared, not because it wasn't meant to be, but because you couldn't wait for the right moment. Thoth said, "What is forming in the invisible cannot be touched by anxious hands, because anxiety gives off a vibration of distrust. And when you transmit distrust to the universe, it stops everything until your vibration realigns." That's why many people live endless cycles of almost achieving. They were about to receive, but couldn't stay in the right state until the end. They touched the process too soon and interrupted the flow. It's like watching a butterfly come out of its cocoon. If you try to help and open the cocoon too soon, thinking you're making it easier, you'll kill the butterfly. Because its struggle to get out is part of the process. That's what strengthens its wings. The universe doesn't need your interference. It needs your trust. So what should you do at this moment? Nothing. Absolutely nothing except keeping your vibration clean. Keep living your day normally. Do what's within your reach right now, but don't try to force the future. Don't send messages asking for answers that haven't come yet. Don't try to interpret signs where there's nothing to interpret. Just stay still. And it's exactly when you can sustain that inner silence, when there's no more desperate rush or need for control, that something invisible begins to move. but not the way you imagine. No bright sign appears in the sky. No clear message pops up in front of you. What shows up is much more subtle and deep, a feeling of inner clarity you've never felt before. It's like what once seemed confusing suddenly becomes clear, like all the puzzle pieces are in your hands, ready to be put together effortlessly. Thoth called this the silent sign of the universe, because it doesn't speak in words, it speaks in resonance. You don't hear a voice saying, "Go now," you feel it. It's like a gentle breeze after a long silence, like the feeling that finally something inside and outside of you is moving in the same rhythm. And that resonance doesn't bring anxiety, it brings lightness. It doesn't bring urgency, it brings peace. It's the exact opposite of the blind impulse that makes most people act too soon. When that sign arrives, reality starts to show you small confirmations. People who were unreachable start reaching out to you. Doors that were closed just open. Circumstances that seem random line up in perfect sequence. But pay attention. These confirmations aren't here to convince you. They show up as a result of your mature vibrational state. It's as if reality is quietly saying, now you can move forward because your field is ready to hold what's coming. How do you recognize this sign in practice? First, by the feeling of clarity. Doubts disappear, even if your external circumstances haven't fully changed yet. Second, by emotional lightness. You don't feel the need to rush or control anything. You feel peace. Third, by the flow of events. Things begin to unfold naturally, without forced effort on your part. But here comes a warning that most people don't notice. At this moment of opening, the anxious mind might try to take control again, because when it sees the first signs, it thinks, now's my chance to make sure it works out, and it starts acting from the old urgency. But the flow is still settling in. It's like a bridge that's almost ready but still needs a few more adjustments. If you cross too soon, the structure could collapse. Thoth said the true wise person acts when the flow calls, not when the mind demands. And the call of the flow never comes with tension. It comes with clarity and gentleness. It feels like a kind invitation, not a loud order. So when you feel the urge to act, stop for a moment and ask yourself, am I feeling light or rushed, clear or anxious? If it's lightness, act. If it's anxiety, wait a little longer. And one more important detail. When the right moment arrives, you don't need to plan everything out perfectly. The actions come spontaneously, in the moment. You do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and everything fits together naturally. Like life is guiding you step by step, without needing to predict your next moves. But there's still a hidden danger here. Because even when you feel clear, some people get lost in the urge to speed things up. They see the signs and instead of walking with the flow, they try to race ahead of it. They want instant results, want everything to happen yesterday, and in doing so, they force the flow and create resistance again. What was flowing now starts to stall. Even after passing through the silence, feeling the invisible signal, and noticing that reality is moving on its own, there's one last trap, and it's the trickiest of all, because it doesn't show up as a mistake. It disguises itself as intelligence. It speaks in the voice of caution. It wears the mask of responsibility, and that's why many people fall for it without noticing. This trap is called anticipation. Anticipation isn't an obvious mistake like loud anxiety or paralyzing doubt. It's more subtle. It whispers in your ear, "Go ahead, just do it, just in case." It convinces you that if you don't act now, you might miss the chance. That maybe the universe is taking too long and needs a little push, but it's exactly that push that breaks down the entire vibrational alignment you've built. Thoth explained that true action doesn't come from urgency, it comes from alignment. There's a right moment when the flow of life is ripe, and your action is simply the natural extension of that flow. It's like picking a fruit that's already fallen because it's ready. No effort needed. No need to tug at the branch. But when you act from anticipation, you pick it too soon. And the fruit, still green, has no taste. It wasn't ready, and neither were you. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're waiting on an important response. You've already done what needed to be done, aligned your vibration, felt the silent signal that everything is on its way. But suddenly, your mind starts getting restless. You think, what if I send one more message, just to follow up, just to be safe? It seems like a small gesture, but the vibration behind it is distrust. You're telling the universe, I don't trust this will happen naturally. And with that, you go back to emitting resistance. Anticipation also shows up when you try to rush results in work, relationships, finances. You see the flow beginning, but can't wait for it to complete itself. So you start forcing situations, manipulating conversations, building strategies based on fear of losing what's coming. And what happens? The flow gets blocked. Because the universe doesn't respond to your rush, it responds to your vibrational state. So how do you tell when action is aligned and when it's anticipatory? There's a simple but deep rule. If you feel the need to act to feel safe, it's the ego trying to control. If you feel the opportunity is already ripe and your action is a natural response, then it's the flow manifesting through you. The difference lies in your inner state, in the peace or tension that comes with your action. Now you might be thinking, but how do I keep this state steady? How do I stop anxiety from tricking me again halfway and making me act too soon? There's one last internal adjustment that prevents that. An adjustment that fully aligns you with the flow of life and keeps the door open for manifestation to continue without blocks. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. Because when you understand and practice this, life doesn't just give you what you desire. It keeps flowing freely, day after day. And after going through all these internal stages, after realizing that the right action doesn't come from urgency, but from clarity, we arrive at the most important point of all, the part that almost no one notices, and that completely transforms the way you live. Because everything we talked about so far isn't a technique to use when you want to get something specific. It's not a trick to manifest a new car, a relationship, or a job. It's something much bigger, much deeper. It's a new state of being, a lifestyle. Thoth said, "Don't manifest what you want, manifest who you are." And that changes everything. Because most people spend their lives trying to attract things, situations, outcomes. They want to achieve something outside so they can feel good inside. But Thoth taught the opposite. First, you manifest who you truly are, and the rest follows. There's no other way. The external world has no power of its own. It only reflects your inner state. It's always been that way. It always will be. So here's the final key. Stop thinking of this process as a technique you activate when you want something. Don't use it as a temporary tool. Make it your way of being. Make this vibrational state your permanent home. Because when you live in alignment, there's no longer a gap between what you feel and what you experience in the world. Outer reality becomes just an extension of your inner world. Practically speaking, what does that mean? It means you no longer wait for signs to feel peace. You live in peace now. You no longer wait for the relationship to feel love. You vibrate love now. You no longer wait for money to feel abundance. You vibrate abundance in the present. Because you've realized your state doesn't depend on what happens outside. It's the cause, not the effect. And when you do that, something amazing happens. Your life starts to flow effortlessly. The right situations, the right people, the right opportunities, they all start spinning around you naturally. Not because you're forcing, But because your vibration is constantly sending out that call, you don't need to try to manifest anything anymore, because manifestation becomes automatic. It happens all the time, in every area of your life, because your inner state no longer fluctuates. But be aware, living like this doesn't mean you'll never have challenges again. It doesn't mean everything will be perfect all the time. But it means that when challenges come, they won't knock you out of that state, because you'll understand that even difficulties are part of the flow. They're not signs that something went wrong. They're just life's recalibrations, still aligned with your inner state. You stop seeing the world as something to control and start living as someone who walks with it. That's true alignment. It's not a constant struggle to keep a positive mind. It's not a spiritual performance where you pretend to be okay while battling inside. It's a real, authentic, deep state. It's when you stop trying to fix the world and start vibrating as someone who's already whole. And as a result, the world responds to that wholeness. But now, the most important part of all is still missing. Because even after living in this state, there's a point where you need to completely stop. Stop seeking, stop controlling, stop even trying to maintain the state. It's the point where everything is already done, where the only thing left is to rest in the flow and let life happen. And it was exactly about this final point that Thoth left his last warning. The point where creation is already complete and the only move left is to do nothing more. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about now, because this is where the true miracle happens. And now that you've passed through each stage, each silence, and each internal shift, you reach the point Thoth called the final moment of conscious creation. The place where everything is already done, even if your eyes don't see it yet. It's at this point that the wise ones stop, because they know that any extra move, no matter how small, won't help. It'll only get in the way. Thoth made it clear, after this, do nothing. But understand, doing nothing here doesn't mean sitting in inertia. It means no longer trying to touch the invisible. It means stopping the adjustments to what's already aligning itself. Because from this point on, it's no longer you acting. It's the vibrational field you built. It's the invisible intelligence of the universe, which knows exactly how, when, and where to bring what's already yours. It's in this final silence that the miracle begins to happen, but it doesn't arrive with noise. It doesn't show up with an announcement. It appears quietly, like it's been there all along, just waiting for you to finally stop getting in the way. And when it arrives, you realize everything you were looking for out there was being formed the whole time in the invisible, while your mind kept searching for answers that were already on their way. How do you live this moment in practice? Simple. You observe, you feel, you give thanks, and you allow. There's no more searching, no more questions, no more control. You no longer try to predict the timing or shape the path, because you know the universe is already acting on your behalf, and any attempt to control will only delay it. It's like a seed already germinating. If you dig up the soil to check if it's growing, you interrupt the natural process. But if you trust, the flower blooms on its own at the right time. This is the state where life starts unfolding like a perfect dance. The right people show up without you looking. Things fall into place without effort. Paths open without being forced, because your vibration has already done all the invisible work. Now, all that's left is to watch reality reorganize around your new internal state. And at this point, the ego will try to scream, but what if it doesn't happen? What if I have to do something else? And the answer is simple and final. Don't. Because this is the moment when it's the universe doing the work. Your only job now is to keep the state. Trust the flow. And watch. Any interference will create new obstacles, new resistance, new delays. But if you stay quiet, The miracle completes itself. Thoth said, "The true creator doesn't need to keep creating when it's already done. He simply contemplates the result of his vibration. Because vibration is the seed of everything that exists. Reality is not built through physical effort, but by the energy you held in silence. So now is the time to quiet the mind, silence the anxiety, and allow the invisible to do what only it can do. Because the miracle doesn't happen when you force. It happens when you allow. It happens when you stop trying to control. Because control is the denial of trust, and trust is the soil where the impossible blooms." And if this made sense to you, if this message somehow found your heart at the right time, leave it in the comments right now. Write the phrase, "I choose to vibrate in silence," because when you write it, you anchor that decision in your vibrational field and help spread that frequency into the universe. The vibration of confident silence is one of the most powerful there is. And before you go, pay attention to something very important. I've prepared a special video, it's on the screen now, where I show you what Thoth revealed about the next level of silent manifestation. A level where you don't just create realities, but learn to live in a constant state of connection with the invisible. So don't leave without watching. Click the video on the screen and I'll meet you there to continue this journey together, because that's where everything really starts to align. And if you made it this far, it's because this message from Thoth spoke to you in some way. So do this now. Write in the comments, "I choose to trust the silence." Because when you write it, you not only reinforce it within yourself, but also help spread this vibration to others who are seeking this awakening. And if you'd like to help this channel grow and spread this message to more people in the world, there's a link right below in the first pinned comment where you can contribute directly and support the creation of more content like this. And listen up. I saved a special video here on the screen now that's going to show you the next level of this secret. Don't leave without watching, because that's where we're going to go even deeper into what Thoth revealed about how invisible reality organizes itself effortlessly. Click the video that's showing up now and I'll meet you on the other side.